So you're a new landlord, you just purchased your first multifamily property or condo investment property in Cambridge, Somerville, or Medford, Massachusetts, and you're excited, you've been searching, this is the one, your unit's vacant, maybe it even just got rented, and you're like, awesome, I'm done. Well, in today's video, I'm going to explain to you how you're actually not done, and arguably the most important work is coming up. What you really need is excellent contractors, specifically landlord-related contractor issues that come up. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 contractors that, in my opinion, are must-haves in your arsenal. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think they're important, what I look for. I have great contractors that I work with that I recommend to my clients every single day. And this is one of those issues that it's like you wouldn't know about it unless you're living and breathing it. But if you are a landlord and you've been doing this for any period of time, you know you need these people, or you might be a landlord who for years have never used these people and you're always stressed out and you're wondering why. Well, here's why. If you guys don't know me, my name is Jankowitz. I am a real estate agent based in Cambridge. I focus on investment properties, multifamilies, and the like in Cambridge, Somerville, and Medford. I've closed over 400 transactions in the last 5 years. If you guys like these videos, please take a second, hit the subscribe button. If you have questions, there is a calendar link in the description below. Let's get into it. All right, so the first contractor, and in my opinion, by far the most important, a handyman. Now you might be saying, why do I need a handyman? What am I gonna use a handyman for? What happens when the tenant calls you at 10 p.m. and says the garbage disposal broke? What happens when there's a major snowstorm and the fence falls over? What happens when the tenant's out in the back porch on a summer day and there's a giant hornet's nest and they get stung? All these scenarios and hundreds of other small little things come up every single week, and you're gonna need a handyman. The reality is there's all kinds of scenarios where either you're not handy, you don't wanna be spending all your time at the property, and it's probably just frankly not worth your time. You probably should be using your time elsewhere. After all, isn't that one of the main reasons you bought this investment property in the first place? So there's really 3 things that I look for when trying to find a quality handyman. The first thing is reliability. The reality is there's a lot of handymen out there, maybe they do great work, but good luck tracking them down on any sort of regular basis. If something comes up, you need to be able to reach out to them, and right away, they come over, they fix the problem. And right away means within a day or 2. If it's longer than that, if they're just too busy or they're that unreliable, it's a problem. So the first thing you need is someone who's gonna reliably, dependably show up and actually do the work. Now, of course, after that, the second thing is quality. You need someone who's actually good at what they do. And so what I'd recommend is if you're working with a new handyman and someone that you don't really know that well, after the work's done on the first couple jobs, either meet them there while they're doing the work or take a look after and see how the work is. Also follow up with the tenants. Did they solve the problem? Are they feeling better about things? If it's a tenant specific issue. Of course, if it's a more common area specific issue, you need to check up yourself. So the second thing is check up on the work, make sure it's good. If you find that the work is very hit or miss, that's a problem. It's probably time to move on. And then the third one, and this is one that I think a lot of owners actually miss. I think it's actually very important. Demeanor. How does the handyman present themselves to your tenants? Do they feel comfortable? Are they making weird comments? Do they knock? Just baseline things. Do they track mud into the house or snow into them? These are just basic things. Or do they just have like a basic level of decency that will make the tenants comfortable in their interactions, okay? It doesn't have to be anything special here, but there's a certain baseline that you really need to expect. Run into situations with other landlords, they have a handyman and they freak the tenant out, and it's not a good look, okay? It really isn't, and it can really bite you. So make sure that your handyman has those 3 qualities and you should be in good shape. Okay, the second must-have contractor if you're a new landlord is going to be a cleaner. And you might be thinking, why do I need a cleaner? Well, keep this in mind. If you have a 3-family property, every year 1 or 2 of those units is likely to turn over. And when it does, you're gonna wanna hire a professional cleaner. A lot of landlords make the mistake of just relying on the existing tenant to clean the property. Let me tell you, very, very rarely does a tenant do a proper job cleaning the property. You might say, well, what's the big deal? Who cares? This broom swept clean, I did my part, I'm not paying anything, Sage. You can go that route, but here's what tends to happen. You have a new tenant, they come into the property, very first day, they're moving in, the gas stove is a hot mess, there's all kinds of food stuck to the top of it. You know, they open the fridge and there's like some beers and some like weird ketchup stains on it. And as a new tenant, how do you think it makes them feel? They say, I'm paying $3,500 for a 1-bedroom in Cambridge and this is what I get. It's a bad look. It sets a really bad tone for the relationship. And then, you know, if during the first week something comes up, it's going to kind of create this like magnifying effect. And you could potentially take something that could have been a small issue and turn it into something big. Flip side, if you have a great cleaner, it's pristine, you know, maybe you have some basic supplies for the tenants on the first couple of days, you're building the relationship with the tenant. Now, if on that first week, the tenant discovers something, they might say, I'm not even going to bother the owner, or they'll call them, they'll apologize, and you're just going to end up in a much better place. So having a great cleaner, in my opinion, is indispensable. Now, with a cleaner, what am I looking for? The first thing is availability. There are some great cleaners that I've met over the years, and it's like so hard to get them to reliably come by. And the reality is, in this market with turnover, oftentimes on the September 1 cycle, there's a tiny window to get them in. So you need to make sure that whatever cleaner or cleaner company you're working with can reliably be available for you. If they're excellent at what they do, but they can't come in when you need them, they're basically useless to you. So you need to make sure they have a cleaner that actually is going to be available when you need them. The second thing that you want is consistency. You want them to have a level of consistency in the work they do. You don't want to feel like you have a tiny window, you get a cleaner in, the tenant moves in, and they did a very shoddy job, or they did sort of a half-assed job. You know, you really want them to do a great job consistently. So, you know, I think it's always good, especially on turnover, to take a look prior to the tenants moving in, make sure everything looks good. If you're out of state or out of country, check in with the tenant. Ask them, how does everything look? Is everything good? If there's any issues, please send me pictures. It shows you care, but also shows, it gives you a chance to kind of look at the cleaner's work at least the first couple times, make sure they're doing solid, consistent work. You need to know that you have a peace of mind with these contractors that when they come in, you can kind of set it and forget it. That's the long-term goal here. If you're not getting that, it may be time to look for another cleaner. The third and final thing that you want in a cleaner is you want flexibility. There are different types of cleans, and I have met cleaners where they say, I'll never do a deep clean. This is too much work for me. It's not worth it at any price. Or, oh, this house is too big for me. I'm not going to touch it. Or, oh, I don't do fridges. Or whatever it is. There's a lot of variance in what cleaners will do. You want a cleaner that can work with you for different situations. You don't want to have 3 or 4 different cleaners they have to call for this situation or that situation or some other situation. You want one cleaner who's reliable, that you can build and maintain a long-term relationship with, pay them well, and everyone wins. So find someone who actually can handle different grades of jobs depending on what comes up. And that's a good question to ask when you're feeling them out. Can you handle deep cleans? Can you handle lighter work? Do you have, you know, a minimum price point or a minimum square footage or maximum that you'll deal with? You know, understand that beforehand and make sure that they can actually do it. I've had some cleaners where they say they can do everything, bring them to a job, then they get there and they say, oh, I can't do this. And now your 1-day window to get the thing clean goes out the window. So really think that through. And my third and final must-have contractor as a new landlord in Cambridge, Somerville, and Medford is an HVAC specialist. Now you might be saying, well, why do I need an HVAC specialist? So first of all, if you're brand new, you haven't heard the term HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. In Cambridge, Somerville, and Medford, for the vast majority of units, it's really about heating. And so the reality is heating systems generally last around 15-ish years. Now there are exceptions, you know, there are Burnham boilers that can last 50 plus years, okay? But the systems only last so long. They do need servicing. You need to have an HVAC specialist. Now let me talk a little bit about what I look for in an HVAC specialist. Now with an HVAC specialist, the first thing that I look for is competence, okay? You don't want to mess around when it comes to heating system. You don't want to have your handyman fix the heating system. You want someone that every single day of their life, they're looking at heating systems. They work in a wide range and type of system. They can work in bigger buildings and smaller buildings. You want someone who really knows what they're doing. And so this is not a place to play around and try and pinch pennies. Pay what you need to get someone who can do the job done right. The second thing, arguably most important, is you need someone who is available on call very quickly. When major heating issues go wrong, you need someone who can get there usually that day or in the morning. You need someone there right away. If it's going to take multiple days for that person to get a hold of or to come to the property, it's a deal breaker. And you will find out very quickly that if your tenants lose heat, HVAC specialists can't come there for multiple days, you're gonna have a lot of problems. You're, first of all, in violation of the law, you're gonna create issues with your relationship with your tenant, and it's gonna create lots and lots of problems. So make sure you have someone who can show up and actually is available, it can get there quickly. Next, have your HVAC person regularly service your heating systems. It is worth it to pay them to look at your system maybe once a year or so, make sure everything is in place. And at the end of the day, a great HVAC specialist can actually put money in your pocket. You might be asking, well, how can they do this? The first way, if they're constantly looking at your heating system, once a year, they should be able to get ahead of issues. So instead of having to replace the system and drop $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 per system, they might be able to fix one or two individual parts to save you money. The next way that they can save you money, if they're good and trustworthy, they might be able to tell you, you know what, you do not need to replace the system right now. Some other person told you you do, you don't need to do it. You can get a couple extra years of it by doing X. And then third and finally, when it is finally time to replace the system, they may be able to offer you cost-effective solutions to save there as well. So by building a long-term relationship with your HVAC specialist, you can really win. And oftentimes, even though you're paying them and paying them well, they can return the favor through building that long-term relationship. Now, there are many other specialists and contractors that I lean on. These are three of the most important in my book. If you guys have other specialists that you think more important than these three, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear. I'll respond to every single comment that you pop here. If you guys have questions, hit me up. I have a calendar link in the description below, and please like and subscribe this video, and I'll see you guys next time.